Now, as y'all can see, my DRL popped at the end of the last season. What I'm thinking is happening is that the halogen bulbs there run really, really hot, and over time melt the top of the housing, and water can get in, and if water touches the bulb, it can explode, and then you get these little pieces here everywhere like that. So we're going to inspect it. If it's not melted through, we'll try to clean this out and reuse this. Otherwise, I got replacement ones already. So let's get to it. First, recommend jacking the car up. This is how I do it. I just use a Pittsburgh jack, the jack stands, and then I got a 2x4 cut down, and it rests on the front support beam here. This is the best way to jack up a C5 Corvette. Be careful, don't touch the leaf springs when you're doing this, but you can definitely set it up like this and get it up so you can get your head under here to get some extra room, as we will be working in this section here. So the first step you have to do is remove these 7mm bolts. You got one here, one over here, one right here, and then we got one here and one over here. And then that'll let this panel drop out, and we should have enough room to get in there. So let's grab that 7mm bolt and wrench and remove these bolts here. Now this bolt wasn't in there too tight. Pretty easy to get out, but there it is. There's the first 7mm bolt. It is pretty long. There we go. And then what I recommend doing is getting yourself one of these magnetic trays as well. Store everything right there so you don't lose it. Okay, just so you all know, it took about 16 turns of the wrench to get each one of these bolts out. So you can use that for when we reverse this, about 16 turns in once it's hand tight. All right, we got all 5 bolts out here. And as you can see, this will just kind of come right out. Kind of stuck up on the left here. Let me see what's going on with that. Okay, so there's like a little latch here that's kind of was stuck into that area. Once you free that, it'll simply come down. Okay, now that we got this panel off and out of the way, let's see if we can get up in here. So this is the brake duct here, and here's the headlight housing. So the first bolt we got to get is right in front of us here. It's another 7mm. Pull that out. I understand it's a pretty long thread too. And the other bolt we got to get to is right there in the back. Focused on it right there in the center of the screen. This will use a trick in the extension to come in through the brake ducting on the front of the car and try to get that out, because it's, even with access below, it's kind of difficult to get into. And then here is the DRL, and there's the side signal light we will be replacing. But first we need to inspect to see if there's a crack, and I really can't tell from this angle, so we're just going to have to pull it out and take a look. And then also we'll need to release this spring, so it kind of holds it up there, to pull the whole thing out of the car. So you can kind of test if it's cracked or not. You can kind of reach your hand way up in here and then just feel right in this area. I can definitely feel it bubbled, and there's definitely a ridge and a crack right there. So we'll be pulling the DLR out and replacing it. Okay, so here is a trick to get the 10mm bolt that's in this corner. Once you have removed the 7mm bolt, you can kind of push up to get it over this little hump right there, and then gently push this out of the way, and that basically will expose this 10mm bolt. So what we want to do is basically we're going to move the brake duct out of the way, right? And then we should be able to fit our wrench with the extension up in here. I'm going to get to use both hands, obviously, to get at that bolt and make that super, super simple. So let's get that bolt out. All right, what I ended up actually using is just the shorter 10mm bolt there, and we got it in right here. And so all we gotta do is loosen it. Really, really easy. You can see this one cracked from being too hot over the years. So that's what will happen if water hits it or condensation hits it from the cracked DRL housing. So we'll get these bulbs pulled out, we'll put the new ones in. The next step is going to be removing this black housing from the actual turn signal DRL housing, and there's two 7mm bolts right here and here. So we'll just loosen that up with our wrench and 7mm extension. And then that piece will be going on the new housing. I have the new housing mounted to this. I tightened them down until they stopped moving, and I went maybe a millimeter or two over that. This is a plastic mount to a mount, so you don't want to over torque these. Mine came with protectors, so dust and stuff doesn't get into the ports, so don't forget to remove these before you actually put the light bulbs in. But the next step will be to put this housing back into the car. So we're going to kind of snake it underneath and into here, and then we're going to pull it up into the empty hole where it belongs. While you have it out, it'd be a good idea to maybe clean this off with microfiber, polish it up, because these aren't out too often, so you might as well clean up that area while you can as well. Once the factory bulbs are removed, grab the turn signal bulb and put it into this socket, and then grab the side signal white bulb and put it into this socket. And then make sure we're going to turn the lights on and make sure they're working before we button everything up on this side. Okay, I think this is a good test. Both are on. Looks like the DRLs, at least on these ones, only have 2 lights lit per section, and then the rest light up for the actual turn signal. So that is real nice. And then these ones are all lit up with the side marker. And yep, good test. So let's put them all together and put this side on, and then we'll do the same thing we did on this side on the reverse side. All right, they're in. They are super bright, like night and day difference. So there's the replacement one. We'll cross the other side of the car. Here's the OEM one. You can tell, and then especially on the reflection on the garage wall. Yeah, huge difference. Huge difference. So yeah, let's do the same thing to the passenger side of the car. Okay, once your bulbs are plugged in, don't forget to put the bottom panel back on by replacing the 5 7mm bolts. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Just hand tight, maybe a little quarter turn pass once they start getting snug. Remember, it's going into plastic. You don't need to really crank on them. Make sure that you have this tab here with it going over it, and right here as well. And then remember that this goes inside that one. And then make sure you put your brake duct back in on the other side, and then that's basically it. Rinse and repeat on the other side. Okay, housing number 2 out, and as you can see, the light has clearly started to burn and crack through this housing as well. Look over here. It's not cracked yet, but it's starting to bulge, and I'm sure not much longer from now this one would fail as well. So we'll replace it as well since it's out. But yeah, these bulbs run hot, man. Hot. But LEDs don't, so hopefully this will be a problem of the past. Okay, just so you all know, these last fit bulbs don't fit actually. They hit the top of the housing, and I actually didn't have this one seated all the way because little did I know the gasket for the actual light was still on the old housing. So that's why that one actually, it was in there, but it was in there actually crooked. It wasn't fully seated. So these don't fit. Don't buy these for the Corvette. They do not fit. So these are going to go back. Really nice and quality. These are the canvas ones. So they, you don't need to hook up that harness for the hyper flashing, but they just don't fit. They here, I'll show you all. They hit the, they hit the top of the housing, man. They don't. So it's like, yeah, they just don't fit, man, at all. So we have to get something different. Oh well. So, since the last fit LEDs did not fit in the C5 Corvette DRL housings, I went ahead and picked up a pair of the SYLVANIA ZEVO LEDs in amber. If you want something with a lifetime warranty that fits and works well, I'd recommend the SYLVANIA ZEVOs. I've installed them in the DRLs as well as the rear taillights, and everything's working great. Do note that they will cause the hyper flashing, and so if that's a problem for you, or if that bothers you, then you'll need to get the anti-hyper flashing harness that's available on multiple vendor websites on the internet. You just do a Google search for that and you can find it. But to be honest, it doesn't really bother me, so I'm not going to put that in there. I can deal with the little bit of the hyper flashing. It's all good. As far as the side marker LEDs, I also returned the last fit ones and went with the Philips Ultinon LEDs. Those have a 8-year warranty, and they have a little plastic dome over the top of it that helps disperse the light in a more uniform pattern versus the last fit that were just bare LEDs on the top of a circuit board. So I put those in the side markers as well as in the interior lights. I've upgraded the interior lights to LEDs as well on my Corvette. So if y'all have any questions, comments, if this worked out for you, let me know in the comment section below. If you liked the video, I'd appreciate you smashing that like button. And if you want to see more content like this, I'd appreciate your subscription to Vampire Drac Cool. Until next time, keep it real.